Hey everybody, welcome to Libel the Bible. I'm Scott.
And I'm Rusty.
Welcome to episode 3.
Episode 3.
Episode 2, actually.
Well, it's our third episode.
Right, no, but let's call it episode.
Scott's a stickler.
Yeah, well, because people see 0002 and they're going to think
People aren't going to see that.
I don't know what they're going to see.
No one's going to see
I don't know if any. Yeah, exactly. No one's going to see it anyway. Welcome to our 100th episode, or our anniversary episode. Woo! Here we go. All right, today we're going to cover the end of Genesis, right? Genesis 5 through 10?
Well, I mean, it's not the end of Genesis. Genesis is going to go on and on and on. We're like at the very beginning. So
maybe it's the end of the creation thing?
It's like, yeah, it's sort of the end of the creation story. It's almost like another creation story in a way. Genesis 6 through 9. Mm-hmm. Last episode.
Yes. Let's talk about last episode. I need a recap because I forget.
So, recap's good.
Previously on.
We had God creating everything in 6 days.
Yep.
Okay. Then
6.5.
6.5. Well, 6 1/4. We decided.
Six and however long you go to church.
Morning emails. Then there was an addendum to the story because they wanted to flesh out like the 6 days. They felt like there weren't enough details, so they added some details.
A vignette.
Yeah. Then we've got the original sin, Adam tempting. I'm sorry. Oh
yeah, watch it, buddy.
Eve tempting Adam.
Yeah, nice
God
job.
getting upset and expelling them from Eden.
Yeah, and then what?
So now that they're out of Eden, they start having sex because they have knowledge, and why not?
Right, yeah.
They have kids.
Yep. Two of them.
2 of them. And one of them kills the other one because God really was not neighborly.
Yeah.
With the murderer.
Yeah, kill them over Brussels sprouts. Come on.
Yeah. And so now there's one son, Eve, Adam, but they're not even in the story anymore, really. And that one son that's remaining, he wanders off. He's marked for life, in order not to be killed. But Adam and Eve have more kids, which we didn't really cover. We didn't do Genesis 5 because it's more or less a genealogy.
Right. Yeah. I would like to just mention a couple of facts. It seems like in Genesis 5, it gives the lineage, and apparently everybody lives to 900 years old.
Yeah.
They have kids in their hundreds. They live to 900. I think that's important to the story. And at 500 years old, this dude Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japhar.
So I'm going to say this. Because of what we're going to cover today in Genesis 6 through 9, we might be talking about a completely different kind of human race than what is going to exist after Genesis 9.
Yeah, unless there's another contradiction, which I have a feeling there will be.
No, I mean, I haven't seen a single contradiction yet in this book. I mean, everything is very believable and straightforward.
Like I said, it's early in the season. So Genesis 6.
Adam and Eve, they have a third son.
Okay.
And Seth, and he eventually becomes the ancestor of Noah, who we are going to be covering today. Everybody knows the story of Noah's Ark, even if you don't know the story. I mean,
you know,
you have heard of the story, you know all the broad strokes of the story. Yeah. And the story of Noah begins in Genesis 6, and it's titled "The Wickedness of Humankind."
Wow, that's
so
rough. That's rough.
Why don't you give us a little overview of the wickedness of humankind?
But before I do that, I want to question. God does something here where he realizes, I guess, they're living too long. Is that his problem? Because he says people are not going to believe in me forever. I guess because their lives are so long, they get tired of God. So I'm going to limit them to 120 years. Cuts their lifespan.
That is sort of in line with everything else that God has done. Like God is creating a template for himself where he's starting to become pretty easy to read, and he seems very anxious.
Yeah, maybe he might have an anxiety problem.
He has a tremendous amount of anxiety. He has a tremendous amount of anger inside him. Like, he expects everyone to obey him completely. completely.
Definitely keep them in their thoughts at all times.
He's not always treating people nicely. He's certainly not following the golden rule. When Cain gave him, the things that he grew from the ground as an offering.
I always heard about the golden rule, but I don't really know what the golden rule is.
Do unto others as you would have done unto you.
That's the golden rule?
That's the golden rule.
All right, okay.
So a play on that is do not do unto others what you would not have done to you.
Wouldn't a modern, more woke version of that be do unto others as they would like you to do unto them? Not like what's good for you ain't good for them. But
I don't know, but if you think there's anything woke about this podcast, then you are in the wrong place. So the wickedness of humankind. What's a quick recap of it? You've got basically God decides that men and women are horrible and evil.
Yeah.
And he is,
wicked.
Quote, sorry he made them.
Yeah. Which makes me question this whole perfection thing people got going here. Like, even like, and he's quite a narcissist. You would think even if he made a mistake, he would never admit it, right? So he's sorry I made him. That's a regret. That's a mistake.
I mean, the first mistake is putting that fucking tree right in the center of the garden, right? If he doesn't want them to eat it, like tuck it away in a corner somewhere. Why does he need it as the centerpiece for this garden?
It's like you said previously. I think he wants some shit to break out. He's like a reality show that's gone cold. So the producers introduce an ex-girlfriend, or you're not the father, or it's just
no. God so far, God is a sociopath. I mean, he's a sociopath. He is setting up people. To not do things, knowing that they're absolutely going to do them, and then the level of anger that he's displayed so far is disproportionate. Yeah. So, the wickedness of humankind. What were people doing, Scott? Like, what was God so upset about?
Sex, basically. It's basically sex and violence. And can I drop the bawdy terminology?
Let us get it.
It's worded in the sons of God went into the daughters of humans.
They went into them. Yeah. And really, I don't think it's just that they were having sex, right? Because God wanted eventually, he wanted...
Go forth and multiply.
Right. The problem is they were having, naughty sex, right?
Was it naughty sex, or was just sex not for procreation? It was sex for pleasure, not for procreation.
So...
By the way, dolphins do that.
Oh yes. They're famously, rapey. Dolphins.
Rapey?
Oh, yes. Dolphins are famously rapey.
Oh,
but that's another podcast. That's for our patrons. Let's save the rapey dolphin podcast for the patrons. Right? So anyway, people are having creative sex. I think that's the problem. I think it's not always, it's not always vaginal sex that they're having.
Yeah,
there could be hands involved. There could be different orifices involved, right? So God is not pleased with what he is seeing. It's debaucherous to him.
Why is he watching?
Well, God likes to stroll. He's always strolling.
Stroll with a Slurpee.
Talking to himself, referring to himself as us.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hearing voices.
Okay, so he's a voyeur on top of everything else.
Now... what else goes on in this section? The wickedness of humankind. They mentioned the Nephilim.
Yeah, and they were proud warriors, or the first warriors, like the Klingons of their day. And
so I had no idea what that was. So I looked it up. I couldn't resist looking it up. So nobody really knows, but the prevalent theory that's put forth is the Nephilim were a race of giants.
Oh, shoot.
So there were giants that existed in this time on the planet. So whatever happened with Adam and Eve, right? God sort of makes them in his image. And whatever happened with Adam and Eve, apparently there's also giants. So the Bible doesn't mention their origin. It just puts them there.
Are they like Cyclops kind of giants? Those kind of giants? Or are they like the Do-Re-Mi?
I think they're like the Do-Re-Mi.
Okay. Right.
Fee, fi, fo, fum.
Right, yeah.
Do-Re-Mi is Sound of Music, I think.
Which I saw part of it for the first time just the other day. Yes.
So God believes that basically humans are completely evil. And how does he feel about making humans?
He made a mistake.
Yeah.
He made all of it was a mistake.
Yeah.
I think that's very telling. Like, I think that's glossed over. That's like the part of the Second Amendment when they say, you know, in regards to having a well-prepared militia, like that part's left out of the, when people claim they know what the Second Amendment says. Mm-hmm. I kind of think this whole God perfect thing, they're kind of skipping this part. And this is a big part. I mean, the flood, Noah, we know the story. Like, I guess we don't really know the story. So yeah.
I think a lot of people know the story from maybe Sunday school or maybe cartoons or just like, cutesy like toys that they sell, like Noah's Ark and things like that with the animals. But if you really read the story of Noah's Ark, it is extremely dark.
Yeah, really dark. And so let's get into it.
Yeah, it's not
What's
God.
up with Noah?
It's not God at his best. Well, God hates everyone.
Everybody.
He hates them so much, he's going to destroy everyone on the planet. But then he's like, you know what? I like this motherfucker Noah right here.
You think Noah was a kiss ass?
Noah is in my grace. He is living the right way. He is basically having missionary position sex.
Okay, only when it's appropriate.
Once a week, right? With his wife and only to procreate.
Okay.
And so I'm going to spare Noah, his wife, Noah's 3 sons, and apparently, like, their wives.
Their wives, yeah.
So I am going to spare these 8 people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So did God know the other 7? Or Noah, like, vouched for him? Like G-Money bringing, like, what's his name to Noah?
It's
Noah.
like
Nino Brown.
It's like the mafia, You don't start off as a made man. You're like a friend, a friend of mine, not a friend of ours.
Right. Okay.
But I think a friend of mine is a pretty good, like, you're vouching for someone, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think those people were friends of his. They weren't friends of ours, and so. He's going to save Noah and Noah's family. And what else is he going to save, Scott?
Again, in the film, I didn't understand. Like, they were just barely mentioned.
Well, they're heroes.
But do you think they're going to get into the story later?
I don't know.
No, right.
I don't think so, because now that I've read Genesis 6 through 9, I know what's going to happen.
No, what this is good for?
Or they might have callbacks,
They're going to launch a streaming service with, like the story of Lamech that they just, went over, like, didn't that? Or the Nephilim.
No.
Yeah, and a bunch of streams of like offshoots, like the book
of
Boba Fett.
They're gonna have like the prequels, yes,
like a Bible story,
yeah,
like
Disney,
a Star Wars story.
Disney needs to get on that. I would watch that.
Yeah, of course.
I would watch that.
Giants.
Yeah, get Peter Jackson to direct.
Yeah. So those 8 people, and he also says gather 2 of every creature on the planet, male and female, so they can procreate, but only in a missionary type way. And grab all the food you can. All kinds of food. Grab it.
Yeah. Because what am I going to do, Scott?
Oh, shit. Skipped over this. You got to go build an ark. And he gets very specific.
But I meaning God, like, you need to build an ark because what am I going to do?
For my part, and I think he says it that way, for my part, I'm bringing the water.
Yeah.
Wait. I mean, I don't know what's more labor intensive, building the ark or... I mean, he's God. Probably nothing's labor intensive.
He's just using his magic hands, and the water's going to come, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. So he tells Noah.
Do you think? Dude, I'm almost afraid to say this so early in our broadcast life. But do you think he's playing in a bathtub, God? Like he's just like he's using his big hands with the little stuff in the his little floaty toys.
He's a baby. He's like a little baby, and this is like his first universe that he's created. Like the parents, they haven't taught him.
Yeah. All right, so go build an ark.
So,
and he gets very specific about the size of the
God
ark.
is going to flood the entire planet. I need you to think about this. I need you to really think about this. He tells Noah, "I'm going to save you. You're going to build an ark, right? Because it is going to rain so hard it will cover the entire planet to where everyone on the planet dies." Now, I want you to think about not being in Noah's family. You're a person. You are going to die
that's
like
so funny.
in a flood that God has created. It's not even a flood because a flood like denotes, like an overflowed river or like a tsunami wave, but this is just rain pouring down on you until the water levels just rise and rise and rise. It's not a flood. It's like slow death.
Yeah, crazy.
This is what I'm going to do because I made a mistake, but I'm going to let Noah live.
Yeah, all right. So now Noah, I'm sure, is like he's in his backyard, I guess, right? He's like starts building this.
Yeah, well, he's got a big backyard.
And
People have big properties. It's like Montana.
Okay, so there might not be a neighbor for miles.
You got a ranch.
Okay, fine. Good enough.
It's big sky country.
So yeah, God gets very specific about the size of this ark. So he's like, make it 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high, with a roof that's 1 cubit, whatever that is. So again, I don't have to research, but it was a word I didn't understand. So a cubit turns out to be from the length of an elbow to a middle finger, roughly 18 inches. I don't know whose arm they used. Who cares? We're saying it's 18 inches. So this is a sizable.
Maybe they used the giant's arm.
This is a sizable craft. I mean, I don't know what the math is, but 300 times 18 inches.
I mean, because it not
big.
only has to hold Noah and his family, it also has to hold
two of every creature.
Two of every animal. And he's like very specific. He's like creatures that are crawling on their bellies or like creatures that are flying. Like he's very specific.
Serpent guy is still around?
Well, the descendants are definitely around of the serpent guy.
Okay, so he's got some serpenty blood in one of those animals. Okay.
So now...
So let me get back. So now he's building this thing, and even if you're on a ranch, somebody's got to notice this big monstrosity being built. And somebody's going to be like, hey, what you building there, buddy? I mean, did boats exist at this point?
I mean, he was probably mocked. He was probably mocked tremendously, because everyone's having fun. Everyone's murdering.
Do you think he told people, yo, man, God said he's going to flood the earth? Do you think he had like a doomsday story to tell people? And they just like, he's an old kook?
So here's the thing. Noah. Either he was preaching like, yo, you better prepare. Or he was just telling people, so I had this conversation with God and he told me that, I should build an ark. And he probably like very casually like told people at market, just chit chat. What's new?
Yeah, do you think he wanted to tell people, or he just couldn't help himself, or?
I don't think it had the stigma that it does today. Like if you have a conversation with God and you try to talk to someone today about it, people are going to think, you're insane.
But back then, there's probably common.
But back
sense.
then, it's like, there's giants.
There's giants,
right?
Talking serpents.
So Noah's probably like, at the market, and he's talking to the guy he buys oranges from. And the guy's like, how's it going? Like, what's new? And Noah's like, I was talking to God the other day, and God said that, I'm going to flood the earth, so you better build this massive boat to fit you and your family and every living creature on the planet times two.
And I say, yeah, good luck with that. I'm going to go fucking fight. See you later.
Yeah. So Noah does all this, right?
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does.
Yeah. And then they all get on the ark.
Because there's a big door on the side. That was specific. A door on the side.
Oh,
and there's only 3 levels.
I'm sorry. Before we get to the ark, let's get to the contradiction.
Which one?
I know.
The animals?
So let's talk about, Genesis 7, chapters or parts 2 and 3, verses 2 and 3. Earlier he says, take 2 of each animal, correct?
Yep.
What does he say now?
Now he says take like 7 pairs of the good clean animals and like 2 pairs of the dirty animals?
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. He's saying take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals. I don't know what that means. What's a clean animal?
Well,
like a cat, because a cat's like licking itself all day.
According to Jules, it's not a pig.
The male and its mate. All right, so take with you 7 pairs.
So he's more specific now. It's not. At first he said a male and a female. Now you want the male and its mate.
Right.
Okay.
What if it's gay? What if the animal is gay?
I don't know if that's a topic that
But I'm assuming God
ever talked about.
But I'm assuming God wants 2 of each kind, like a male and a female, because he's about to destroy the earth and he needs procreation.
It's a seed vault. He's building a seed vault.
But here he's saying the male and its mate instead of the male and a female. Like,
maybe at that time, mate specifically meant a man and a woman, a male and a female.
Well, maybe right. Maybe the mate is like it denotes woman, because women were like nothing then. It was just like they were property.
Can we get back to that when the dirty words where the sons of God went into the daughters of humans?
Mm-hmm.
Is that another misogynistic statement?
You never have to ask me if it's all right to go back to anyone entering into anyone else. Like, I'm there. I'm with you.
Okay. So, is that another misogynistic swipe? Because he talks about the sons of God entering the daughters of humans. Almost like they're not, Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So
absolutely.
So we've gotten quite a few misogynistic references so far, and we're very early on in this story.
I mean, God's not really a role model.
Maybe for the time. It was a different time. Different rules applied. I don't know.
You're such a God apologist. So, take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals. So that automatically contradicts, right, the pair.
Yeah.
The original pair.
Yeah.
All right.
So no, I'm sorry. Does he mean we got to keep 2 of each plus these? Are these additional?
Is this maybe for the food part? Is that what's going on?
No, because he said take all kinds of food. I think I know what this is about.
Tell me.
Well, we'll get to it. So we'll get to it. So in 7 days, some shit's gonna happen.
All right.
They're all on the boat now. They're all on the ark.
Okay, so however many animals
is an ark a term used anywhere but Noah's Ark and Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I think an ark is just a vessel that carries something.
Why
So
don't
it
we use
doesn't
the
have to
term
be
more often?
have to be a boat.
Okay, so it's just a vessel that would make sense because the Ark, the Covenant carried some sand.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but whatever.
Yeah, okay.
The ark was a MacGuffin anyway.
Yeah, I only learned what that was like a year ago, listening to another podcast. So note to self, use ark more often in everyday conversation. Okay, so in 7 days, some shit's going to happen. The rain started.
So they're on the ark, all the animals and the whole family, and it's raining.
Yeah.
After 7 days.
Yeah, and it's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. So now, I'm assuming it took 40 days and 40 nights for the earth to fill up and drown everything. Now, I didn't think about this until we were sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the footage of the people trying to escape this shit.
So this is what I'm talking about.
Because they're climbing mountains at this point.
It's horrific.
Yeah, it's gross. And is Noah laughing or is Noah screaming, you should have listened? Like, how is Noah reacting to this? Because he's got to see this going on.
Well, Noah doesn't see it because remember, God instructed him to cover the ark, right? So the ark is like completely more or less covered. They're inside this like whatever it was made out of, wooden like massive ship. First of all, the noise and the smell must have been like I would have been driven insane after 2 days. I think like there are certain animals that are quiet, but there are certain animals that are always talking, and he's got every kind of every animal. So it's like it must have been horrific aboard. But I want you to consider this.
He built separate rooms. He might have had like a private area.
So you're talking about the people who are climbing up mountains, right, trying to save themselves. How many days and nights did it rain for?
40.
Okay. Think about the hardest rain that you've ever experienced. If it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, right, it wouldn't fill up the whole planet. So think about how hard God must have made it rain. It wasn't just like rain, right? It was just shit like you've never seen before, right? To fill up everything, to cover every mountain over the course of 40 days. It was terrible. So God's making it rain, and he is murdering people in one of the most horrific ways possible.
Yeah, because it's not quick.
It's not
fast,
quick.
And you're watching everybody around you die.
You've got children.
Do you think Noah hears people banging on the hull, asking to be let in?
I think at a certain point early on, there must have been some of that. There must have been people like swimming alongside the ark, and giants maybe even tried to break in. Maybe that's why God told them to like cover the entire ark. Maybe like, he had to protect himself from people trying to like. The door
was on the side and it had to be closed and waterproof.
So you don't want people climbing in,
All right. Oh, that had to be rough on.
Like if you had to hear that. He was, yeah. I mean, not really, because if God tells you this is what he's doing and you're worthy enough that God trusts you to live, then you don't care, like you're all into God.
Yeah.
God knows what he's doing.
And they probably got what they deserved. I'm the righteous one.
Right.
And there's probably no reason to believe, like, I'm the only one with an ark. He might have talked to some other dudes. There's other arks other places. There was a movie about that, like 2012, where they built a bunch of different arks.
I bet you Noah probably, he felt really good about himself. He thought, like, God, I think God probably told him, you're the only one.
The last guy who felt this good about himself caught a pitchfork in the back of the head. He swats himself. All right, so it rained for 40 days, and the water got to a level 15 cubits above the highest mountains.
Yeah.
So, I mean, damn.
Yeah. So God has now killed everything on the planet.
Glaring hole in the story, though.
Which is?
The sea creatures. If anything, the sea creatures would be like big and fat now, right? They got all this food now, all these humans, giants.
Well, he probably like rebalanced their environment. So whatever kind of water was coming down probably like wound up killing them off. You know what I mean?
No.
So in other words, let's say
it was too much water.
This kind of animal is a freshwater animal. This kind of animal is a saltwater animal. Maybe God changed the pH levels in different places.
Very possible.
And killed them off. That's how I would do it. Like if I was all powerful and I was going to flood the planet, like that's probably how I would solve it. I would change, the pH levels of the waters.
And if all the vegetation died, there would be no more oxygen. Okay, we're quibbling over details.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure God thought of it because he's a psychotic and, he's not going to leave any detail unexplored. He's going to do a complete job of wiping out the planet.
Yeah. He's really thought it out because just the way he created everything, he really thought that out.
Yeah, he's a deep thinker.
Yeah, deepest.
So now the waters are covered the earth. Do you remember how many days they covered the earth for?
I want to say about 150.
150 days. So the earth has been covered in water for 150 days. They send out like birds.
He opens a window. They mentioned he opens a window, so it's probably the first time he's seen sunlight, right? When he thought it was safe. The boat wasn't rocking.
I don't know why
anymore.
that struck me funny, but like they're in like darkness mostly, for 40 days, and then like just imagining for the first time, like you go onto this ark and the world is normal. You're on the ark for 7 days, closed off, because they closed themselves off. And then, like, the first time you open up the window and the whole goddamn planet is just water world. That must have been like a holy shit moment for Noah.
That's a mind trip.
But the Bible doesn't really talk about that. Like, the Bible so far is not concerned with the feelings of anyone other than God. We're all supposed to care about how God feels, but, like, the emotions of the people that
I'm sorry. There's nothing in there that really tells me I'm supposed to feel for God. Like, if this was a movie.
Because it's actually expressing to you what God's emotions are, But yeah. I haven't seen the emotions of any, like, person.
Except for Abel with his big-headedness.
Except for Abel, right, when he winds up murdering his brother. So
murdered by his brother.
I feel like God is...
Oh, wait. Who got murdered? Cain murdered Abel.
Abel got murdered by Cain. Yeah. So I feel like God is this emotional black hole. And, like, we're all just, like, sucked into his, feelings. And so Noah looks out, and does he see land when he looks out?
No, he still sees water. Apparently they came to rest on, like, top of a mountain, which I think is, like, they've discovered that boat, right?
Well, the Bible says the mountains of Ararat. Right.
Well, now there's actually a Mount Ararat, right?
They named the mountain Ararat, like in that region, and they happened to find like.
Do you think it's a tourist trap? Just some tourist stuff.
So I don't know what it is. They didn't find anything. Otherwise, you would have read about it in the New York Times and not seen it like on a History Channel. Like
right. So when I'm on the subway and I got that huge newspaper that takes up like seven seats because who's reading the New York Times? Man?
Yeah, like it's 1990. Get the app, bro. So anyway,
that's a subscription app. Man.
God's promise. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we're not even at God's. Oh my God!
No,
there's so much nonsense to cover.
You're getting worked up. Let me
a lot
take
of
over
nonsense.
For a little bit. All right, so now he's resting on a mountain. Obviously, the boat's not rocking anymore. He's like, oh, maybe And you can't be wrong about this. You can't like, let me pop this window open and be wrong about it, right? Because you're fucked. You're going to sink.
Yeah.
He opens it up, doesn't see anything. He sends a dove out. Dove comes back, nothing, no place to land. I don't know if he communicated that other than just by coming back. So he waited a little while longer, sent the dove out again, and it came back with an olive leaf. No, first he sends a raven out. Right, okay, all right. I don't know why he sends him out. And what about his mate? Like the raven's mate? Like, now there's only one raven on board? Again, whatever. Sends the dove out again, and it doesn't come back. So obviously that means it had someplace to land. Not that it drowned it in the ocean, but so yeah. So that's I guess then the Earth is now habitable. So now they're up on top of a mountain, though, right?
They're on a mountain, and I think
Maybe not the top because it might have subsided.
They stayed there for a good amount of time. I think even after like the dove didn't come back. I think they stayed like 7 days or something. But
play it safe.
Yeah, it was like So it's like famously the Mayflower, the Mayflower landing. It wasn't like they arrived and when they saw land, they all like disembarked and like they were on the Mayflower for like months. And like that's when they wrote like the Mayflower Compact. So Noah follows that model. Or they follow Noah's model because they were religious zealots.
Rumor has it one of the reasons the Mayflower stopped where they did was because they ran out of beer.
Well, the real reason is they were going to Jamestown, and none of them were sailors. None of them were like anything.
GPS wasn't working,
and they got like blown off course by storms, and they wound up, where they wound up. So,
okay, can I mention now God at this point? I guess when they realized they were safe, He says, "Be fruitful and multiply." And I'm mentioning that for a reason. Go ahead.
So he tells them, "Be fruitful and multiply." Are they on land when he tells them that?
Yeah, they've already. I guess the door's open now.
Okay. So at this point, they're on the land now. I don't even know how to bring this up because I am so upset.
You have an upset problem.
Look, God is completely bipolar.
Okay.
So he wipes out the planet. He is so distraught by what he is seeing. He kills everybody. He kills everything. It rains for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yep.
Then 150 days, like the world is like covered in water.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say 1 year.
Yes, 1 year is good actually because they mentioned that he was 600 when the flood came and 601 was when it came. Yeah, every year it's fine. It's a year. So
in 1 year, God went from I am going to wipe out every single living thing, only catching himself at the last minute. It was like a thing he forgot, like jumping into the car to drive away and being like, oh shit, I really need this. That was Noah. Noah was like the forgotten object. God was ready to wipe everything out. Then he was like, oh, you know what? Wait a second. That guy's all right. Like he's been all right.
Yeah.
Like God had his magic hands all raised to wipe out everything, everyone. Remembers Noah, saves Noah. Then a year later, God seems to be like, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm going to make a promise to mankind. He makes a covenant with Noah, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in the covenant, he says, basically, you know what? I'm not going to kill like all of humanity anymore. I'm done with like mass murder like on an extinction level event scale. Like, I'm done with that.
ELE.
And he says, so I remember, because God can't remember shit apparently, he's like, I'm going to put a rainbow in the sky to remind myself. It's like he's tying like a red string around his finger because, he's so absent-minded that one day he might commit mass genocide again and kill everything. So he needs the rainbow in the sky to remind him. So a rainbow is so... Can you imagine how pleasing a rainbow is? That like God looks at the rainbow and like it reminds him to like suppress that rage. Do not murder every living thing on the planet. Look at that pretty rainbow.
Okay, so a couple months ago there was a fantastic double rainbow in New York City. Went over the river.
I remember it.
Yeah, I was going up the FDR. It was great. Got to see both sides of it. Never did that before. Do you think the rainbow, because we can't see it, but the rainbow was a complete circle. Is that like the knot around his finger, the rope around his finger, the rainbow?
I think absolutely.
All right.
And now I'm starting to think every time we see a rainbow and we're like, wow, that's really beautiful. Is that just like God's reminder, like not to kill us?
No. Well, yes.
Yes.
It's a reminder of the covenant. No, no, I think it's more to reassure us.
No, it's for him. He did
like,
it for himself.
Wow, there's a wicked storm, and you were scared. You know, people get scared of storms.
Yeah.
Storms can fuck you up, man. And it's a reminder after the storm that maybe, I should have been okay. Right. God's covenant. He was not going to destroy us with a flood again.
I think that's a very nice way of looking at it.
I'm trying, man.
Yeah, but I think that if you read the words in the Bible, it's not as comforting as how you're making it out. It's a reminder to himself.
Yeah, which is a little scary.
Yeah.
Nobody with that much power, like you got like the president, if he's crazy, shouldn't have the nuke codes. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a little weird.
God has not been responsible so far with his powers.
Yeah. So he makes his promise that he's not going to kill all human beings again, wipe everything out. With that, Noah builds an altar to him, and he takes those clean animals that we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
There and gives him burnt offerings.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like it's a barbecue.
Yeah. Well, God loves it, and we know from the story of Cain and Abel, God loves his meat.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just a barbecue, right? Just
Yeah.
fellas hanging out.
I
think they're clinking beer glasses? Nice job with the flood, dude.
God is like very lonely. He's like single white female, you know? Like he like clings
They're
on
remaking
to
it.
like...
They're having single black females coming out.
Can't wait. So that's what God is. God is like this clingy friend, but you can't like upset God because God just, takes everything to an extreme.
Yeah, so God mentions why he's never going to do this again. He mentions because humans have the inclination of the human heart is to be wicked from youth. So we're born fucked up. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like he's going to give us a pass because we're born fucked up. There's nothing we can do about it. It would be wrong to like destroy everything.
But when did he come to this realization? Because he wiped out everyone on the planet, right? And then before there's even anyone else on the planet, he's like, you know what? Like, I've realized that this is just human nature. But like, what made him realize this? Because a year earlier, he was so upset with humankind, he just killed them all.
Do you think he has apocalypse regret? I
think that God is a sociopath, either a sociopath or severely bipolar, because he has these manic episodes followed by these serious like lows, like I'm gonna create the world in 6 days, I'm gonna throw my kids out like into hell on earth.
Yeah, that's my big hands in the bathtub and tidal wave.
So I don't know. I think it's interesting, that he has this realization that humans are just bad at heart.
So he's rebooting society, right?
I guess yes, he's rebooting. Yes.
Did he put any safeguards in place to prevent this from happening again? All the shit he didn't like, or now he's just going to accept what happens?
Like what kind of safeguards?
I don't know. Like nothing's changed. I mean, now you got 8 people that are going to procreate. Like why is the outcome going to be any different?
It's not. He's accepting it now.
Or maybe Adam and Eve were bad right from the get-go, where Noah had 100 years to impress God and be righteous.
Right. Fine. I mean, maybe he's like upgrading with each version, like he works out the bugs with each version. Noah was code that he wrote that sort of exists and goes to the next generation.
All right.
Yeah.
But God kind of says the same thing again. Be fruitful and multiply to the animals and to Noah and his family again.
Yeah.
And then he I don't know what he did.
He just says, be fruitful and multiply.
Oh, no, he reiterates the fact that basically you have dominion over all these animals again.
Yeah, like basically what he told Adam when he created Adam.
And then he starts talking whack. Like something about reckoning and you can eat the animals, but they can't be bloody or something.
I mean, cook your meat. Like he's telling them don't eat
raw meat
that has like blood in it. And the rationale in the Bible is, blood is life.
Right.
But, don't eat raw meat.
Yeah. And then he mentioned something about if you shed human blood, your blood will be shed by a human.
Yeah.
Almost like a warning. Like if you kill, you're gonna get killed.
I mean, he's kind of like laying down the first code of justice, where he's like saying, it's sort of the first version of an eye for an eye. If you kill someone, justice will happen to you in the form of you will be killed.
Yeah.
That is justice.
And I think he once again says, "Be fruitful and multiply." Like he goes. Now he's hooked on it. You think he's hooked on the porn?
I think he might be like one of those, people who are very homophobic, who are themselves gay, and like they project out like these anti-gay sentiments. So I think God, like he's constantly seeing, like before the flood, where he was seeing all this sex occur.
Wait.
He was very upset by it because he secretly like desired it. So now he's constantly repeating, like he's got Tourette's,
No,
I think go out and multiply,
I
go
think,
out
I
and
think
multiply.
you have it backwards. I think he really doesn't like the sex, maybe because he's not getting any of himself.
But why is he constantly telling people to be fruitful and multiply?
To hide the fact that he doesn't like it.
Oh, so he doesn't like it, but he's telling.
Hey, go have sex. Hey, we're having a great
So he's
time.
just
Hey,
telling
party. He's like one of those people that like throws the shot over his shoulder when people are doing tequila.
So then he is setting them up. So he's telling them like he doesn't want them to procreate, and then when they do procreate, because he tells them to procreate, that's when he gets to kill them. I mean, he's setting them up to kill them, but it doesn't matter because he's made a covenant. He's cured.
Yeah. All right.
So he's not going to do that anymore now.
Yeah. So
you
life goes on.
can't eat like raw meat, and every time you see a rainbow, you now know that God, he's looking out for you. So
and don't kill unless you want to be killed.
So everything's good now, and Noah, he's a farmer, and he makes like wine.
He makes a vineyard.
He makes a vineyard. It's the first vineyard ever. It's the first vineyard.
I mean, how do you get the knowledge of, like, how did you know grapes? All right, forget it.
How did he build an ark?
Forget it. Yeah, I don't know.
He built, I mean, Scott.
His woodworking magazines.
If we're going to read the Bible, you got to stop asking these questions because this is about faith, Scott.
So anyway,
and I want you on this faith journey with me.
Listen, it's a journey. Exactly. I'll get there or I won't get there, but I have to take the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets smashed.
Yeah,
he gets
drunk. Hammered.
He gets fall down, pass out, naked, drunk.
He's God on like that 6.5 day, right? Like on the 7th day, like halfway through the day, he's crashed.
Yeah, I've done enough. And you know what? Good for him. Good on him. I mean, he did not have it easy.
Here's the question, though.
I mean, he had it easier than the people that died on scrambling up the mountains.
What state of dress is he in when he crashes?
He's butt naked.
Yeah. Why is he naked at the point of him passing out? Like, what preceded him passing out? Like, he's drinking wine, but why is he naked?
You never woke up in Tijuana wondering where your pants were? Like, he doesn't know. We don't know. It's just drunken antics.
All right. So whatever preceded him passing out led to him discarding all of his clothing.
Yeah.
So he's passed out in his house.
He's got the sweats.
Okay. He's on his back?
Yes, he is on his back, yes. Because his son walks in, I think Ham.
Mm-hmm.
And Ham. And walks in and sees his dad's junk.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
He goes out and tells his other brothers, and I don't know how he told them, like, hee, or like, yo, dad's fucked up again.
Yeah.
And the other brothers grab a blanket.
Well, he's not fucked up again because he just invented wine.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he tells his brothers, like, yo, dad's in there, like, totally nude.
Yeah.
You should go check it out.
Yeah. But they obviously knew that was a problem because they grabbed a blanket and they put it between them.
Yeah.
And they walked into the father's room to cover him with the
blanket.
Backwards, so they didn't see his junk for whatever reason.
It's very puritanical.
You know what? Cool. We're respectful. You don't want to see your father's junk, that often. So, yeah, I get it. So then Noah wakes up. I guess he sleeps it off. And what's he do?
He is, like, really upset with Ham. Not even Ham. No, not Ham. He curses Ham's son.
Because he's mad
Canaan.
at Ham. Because he's mad at Ham.
So he's mad at Ham for seeing him naked, motherfucker, don't pass out like naked.
And
you
maybe
know
a
what I
common
mean?
room. I said in his room. I don't remember where
Lock
he passed out.
the door.
Yeah.
You know, like lock the door. It's common courtesy. You don't want me walking in and seeing you like in an awkward position. Listen, I don't care what you're up to. You know what I mean? Like my dad, he could be dildoing himself. You know what? Like, yo, good on you, Dad. But lock the door. You know what I mean? I don't want to walk in on you while, you know, you're 6 inches deep.
Okay.
So he's very upset with Ham, and so he places a curse on Canaan.
No, on Seth. No, not Seth. Yeah, Canaan.
On Canaan.
Sorry, Canaan. Yes, Canaan.
Listen, man, I know my Bible.
Yeah, no, it's obvious. It's definitely obvious. So that's not enough putting a curse on the kid. He tells you're now Shem's slave.
Yes, he makes him a slave.
And
kid wasn't even involved in anything.
And the dirtiest and worst of the slaves. Like it was like he wasn't even like the cool slave.
Yeah,
he was like the worst slave.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So here's the real question, Scott. All right, this is the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was Noah's penis really that small that he was so ashamed and embarrassed by his son seeing it that he cursed his grandson?
No, I was thinking it was more along just a vanity issue. Like we just don't look at each
vanity.
other's junk. You know,
I don't
we
know.
got the fig leaves.
I think you're giving these people way too much credit.
All right, so he has a small penis, but why do you think Canaan has a very large penis? And
it's now that I'm thinking about it,
is he jealous?
It's very possible that he has seen Canaan, right?
Yeah,
and he is completely.
He knows Ham got a small
he's
penis.
envious.
It's his son. He knows.
Yes,
So he's like,
he's seen them all, and his was the biggest up until no, it's tiny.
Okay, so now he's slave. He's a slave, and then he tells the other brother, Jeremiah? What is his name?
I don't know.
The bullfrog guy.
Jespeth.
Jeremiah. Yeah, whatever. And he goes, "All right, you're cool with Shem. You can share his tents." What the hell did that even mean? Oh, and by the way, the kid, he's your slave too.
Yeah.
So the brothers that did the covering got this guy's kid as a slave now.
So I think what it means is when the flood water subsided and humanity resumed, it seems like men were allowed to marry more than one woman.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure I read that.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least one guy in the first lineage had two wives.
So maybe when he says you're allowed to share his tents, he means like literally like,
wife swapping?
Like you're allowed to take his wives or you're allowed to take his things. Like what, you know what I mean? Like things that are in the tents that he has built for his wives.
Okay, so let's say Noah was fucked in the head. Like he had weird views. Like, all right, so I declare Canaan your slave. Do they high five each other and go, "Yeah, we're gonna work this kid to death"?
Yeah, it's like our nephew.
Like I was just playing ball with him before.
I mean,
now go get me a drink. What?
If they're obedient sons, then they gladly accept the punishment.
Do you think they put a front up in front of Noah, but they act cool with him like when Noah's not around?
I think that after being on that ark for like a year, I think they're pretty sick of his shit by now.
I would think after a year, probably everybody's been pretty intimate with each other. I don't mean intimate in a sexual. I mean, like you've seen things.
And
that you don't
and Noah's probably like every single day. Noah, like they're sitting around the dinner table, and Noah's like, "Hey, why you all here? Me. You're all here because of me, and don't forget it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's the kind of guy who would get so upset about his son seeing him naked that he would turn his son's son into a slave, he seems like the kind of guy that would hold like saving them over their heads constantly.
Yeah, bizarre ending to this story, because that's really where the story kind of ends right here.
Yeah.
If I may, we'll just say after this, Noah died at 950 years old.
950.
Now, God said previously he's shortening the lifespans to 120 because he doesn't want people to live that long. So I said, okay, he's making an exception for these people because they were already born. They already had that long life gene. But then Genesis 10 goes into another lineage story. It's a lot of names. And they mention these people are still living hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So, is that a contradiction?
It's a little bit of a contradiction, Scott.
It is.
Yeah.
And not one we have to get into. Just point out, he said you only live in 120 years, but they're still living.
And you never have to apologize for pointing out contradictions in the Bible because it's what I live for.
Yeah.
I like the contradictions. So basically Genesis 10 basically takes us from Noah's sons to their descendants, right? And it basically takes us down the line, sort of the way Genesis 5 did from Adam and Eve up to Noah.
Oh, and they specifically say these sons, we all came from these three sons, and they created all the nations and all.
Yeah, they spread out. They
at
started
first, I didn't know if they
out.
meant nations of actually city-state nations or groups of people. Because they mentioned Azurites and Tellarites.
Well, they probably
stalactites
settled. They settled. So they started these civilizations. So they spread out to what is now Northern Africa, Eastern Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, places like that, along the northern African coast. I'm assuming these are all the places that they're spreading out to. And so they spread out and they multiply until we get to the point where we weren't planning on doing this, but we can't resist
and
doing...
he says me and Rusty weren't planning on doing this.
Yeah, Scott and I, we can't resist doing Genesis 10 because after Genesis 10, we get into Abraham, which we will do our next show on, but we want to finish this off with another fun story about our Lord God. Genesis 10 is the Tower of Babel. And Scott, can you briefly tell us, what is the Tower of Babel?
Okay. So I'm going to say I did not read ahead. I barely read the stuff I'm supposed to read. I'm not good at doing homework. So I literally read it while Rusty was, taking his coat off. It's really short. It's a good read. Basically, the people got together. One of the clans got together, and they built this tower to reach into the heavens. Guess who got mad?
Well, why did they build the tower?
I don't know. Did it specifically say?
It was a tribute to God.
A tribute to God.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice.
And they built this massive tower to honor the Lord God. And by the way, it seems like all of these societies were getting along really well. It's almost like what God wanted before
utopia.
The flood.
Yeah, everybody doing their thing.
I mean, it's great. Everyone's working together. There's now there's society.
Yeah, and he gets mad and he says something like, "Wow, if they can do this working together, they can do anything." And there's his fear reaction again.
That goes back to Adam and Eve when he doesn't want what's next, eating from the tree of life, from life.
Right, and I believe, and I'd have to check it again because I read it quick. I believe he's talking to imaginary people again. He's talking to somebody else, not himself.
He is everything where he comes from, so he is everything. So he is us. He is we. So they are living. I think if we can use one word to sum it up, it's cooperation. They're living in a state of cooperation.
Yeah.
And so what is fucking God?
He gets pissed off they're all speaking the same language.
Yeah, because everyone is getting along so fine. He doesn't even get pissed off. He's like, you know what? I'm going to scatter them all over.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make them all speak different languages so they can't communicate with one another.
Yeah. And let me ask you this. Do you think when that happened, people realized God did that?
No, because he...
So, all right, so now they don't know who did it.
Yeah.
So now they're pointing fingers at each other. And they're speaking different languages. And now they've got territories, separate territories. And now borders are being drawn. Yeah, good job, man. That's a great job. That's a way to go. Yeah.
It's like God totally antagonized everyone.
Do you think the next time God gets pissed off, he's going to make sure all the air traffic controllers speak different languages?
Well, look,
and planes are just going to crash.
I think that God found a loophole in his I promise not to wipe out humankind.
Dude, you know what this is leading to?
That was his loophole.
He's going to have humankind wipe out humankind.
Right. Technically, I am not doing it. All I did, all I did was scatter everybody and made them all speak differently.
Yeah.
There was one language.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the dream ultimately? Like the earth developing one language so that we all, because even language shapes the way you think.
Of course.
And
you
so
think in language.
You think like different languages force you to have different like ways of thinking too. Like, and so if we had one language as a planet,
standard.
Exactly. And so God, of course, doesn't want that. And that is a great encapsulation of what we've read about God so far, I would say, through
And
Genesis
that was the whole story of the
10.
tower, right? That was
it. That was it.
Definitely the gist.
God just pranked humankind by scattering them and making them all speak different languages just at the height of their cooperation and really just at the beginning of the development of a great civilization.
Yeah, fearful, man. Weird.
And so this is going to lead us up to Abraham, which we will discuss in our next episode.
Okay, great.
And unless Scott has any more gems or insights, I think we are going to sign off now.
I'm good. Peace.
See you next week or episode.